So first line item was the minutes that Brent has sent out. We'll get a chance to review those. Any changes? They can get a motion. Second. Okay.
Wait.
Rick, I need a motion to approve. Second.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got two things I want to hand out. Not that he sent out. Then you're that one first. And then we'll go that one. So this is from Don. He sent out, the Civic Center point of view. We touched base on it last week a little bit. And then this was kind of a breakdown. So this is sort of a breakdown of the expenditures. So we saw last month, the general fund review. There's quite significant money is in there. The expenditures were higher than they normally are. Got 2 to 1. So there should be 2 different sheets for you're gonna go somewhere one of these, so you can look on it. So there's the 2 calendar years. I guess July to June is a calendar year. So the first one was, $24,000 from last year. So I'll give everyone a second to read them. So, and it looks pretty straightforward. Hazen Union, Montpelier, Peoples, those are obviously the teams that came up to play. Pioneer Athletics, I'm not sure what that is.
Whatever, sled hockey.
The sled hockey team?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we paid them a lot of money.
For.
It's $6,000. I'm not sure what that expenditure is. That was probably before you were here.
Well, that was definitely before I was.
I think that Pioneer Athletics, I thought it was a sled hockey.
Okay,
For what?
That may be,
No.
that actually may not be the Pioneer sled hockey team, it may be a athletic equipment. Something of that nature.
okay, we can get clarified on that a little bit from Don.
So, I really appreciate this, and I do think that we should get summaries on a regular basis, at least quarterly.
Yeah.
But I also think that there should be a notation about the nature of the expense. This is kind of vague.
Yeah, we can read into it. Pioneer Athletics is definitely a question mark. On the second page, which is a pretty significant expenditure. This is from last year, I guess, into this year. So $96,000. BD General, I'm sure that's the company that you hired to do the lights, Tom.
BD General is a roofer. I believe they did the marquee roof out here.
Okay,
And I just looked up Pioneer Athletics, by the way. It's like they're a manufacturer of natural grass, synthetic turf, athletic field, marking paint, fine stripe machines. So not even something for the trade, potentially,
And for all the fields and stuff and paint.
or yeah, for the fields in general. So,
Oh, that. Yeah. I don't know what I thought. That might have been.
so is that something that was bought for all the fields, or
No idea.
that goes back to
That was-
324, so that's.
It was almost a year before I got here.
324? Then we got the turf. That's when we got the turf was getting ready to be put in, right?
About that, I didn't think Pioneer Athletics, so that wasn't the company. that you bought.
No, they're not. I don't think they were, but just the also.
But it could have been all the paraphernalia, the goals and
Yeah.
other stuff like that.
You did that because we did that, so I bet you're right on that. So on the page 2 again, generally you got the roofers, obviously. Norway and Sun, 30 grand.
That's the
That's the
lights.
lights. Next big New England Air for 16K.
That are the heaters.
The heaters. Spectator heaters. And then the rest is reasonable. It's obviously the payouts for the tickets. Chris Ford would be, signs. Times Argus advertising, the world of advertising, so. It looks like a lot of, my only comment on this one, and I'll see what other people want to say, but it's definitely, the general maintenance is definitely coming out of this fund. You know, the roofing, the lights, the heaters, things like that.
Oh, this is the general fund, I'm sorry, I'm catching up.
Yeah, this is the Civic Center fund.
This is the fund that should be for non-capital items.
Yeah.
And it does appear that a good portion of the fund is being used for things that really should come out of the capital fund. So I don't think that this reflects what our goals have been for the Civic Center Fund. And also what those goals are, what we speak to our supporters about as well. So this is a problem, I think.
Yeah, and I apologize, I had intended before this meeting to go to the city to research that, but I got to school and I was out of work for literally 2 weeks and fighting for 3 weeks, so I didn't get there, so I'm way behind, but I did try to go through online on the minutes, they didn't go far back, and my memory serves me correct. City manager is writing down John Craig's tenure and beginning with Steve Kenny, so that will give me the time. Sometime the next week or two, I plan to go to City Hall and talk to the clerk and talk to the manager's office and try to find that, because my stuff, I did have a file on it, but it was in our basement. Boy, water's to here.
Good, thank you for looking.
It would be nice to get that just to see what was originally written.
Yeah,
I understand certainly the city is a little bit between a rock and a hard place because the money is very tight. And these repairs have to be done, so I'm sympathetic to that. But it'd be nice to know what it said.
yeah, and the city council has approved, so I'm also gonna look through, try to go through minutes, to try to find the actual. Because there had to be some sort of creation of this in some rubber, I assume it wasn't just the manager, it had to be the council, so. It'll take a little work, but I'm sure we're
Right,
gonna
thank you.
chase it down.
I'm sure the city council was available.
Yeah.
I'm sure that the Chris Ford thing then let's get reimbursed, right, cause that's for banners and.
Yeah, he does the dashes.
He does the-
So do we get reimbursed for that from the?
I don't know if we get reimbursed, it's part of the,
According to what I understand, but
Jim.
Jim's telling me, is the advertisers pay for the.
Right, that's
Pay
the
fee.
point.
Well, I gotta tell you, that's an amazing deal. Whoever set that deal up needs a blue ribbon. Because most places, they just pay it and then.
Yeah, that's why we didn't want to increase, because like I'm getting ready to, I'm changing the name of our firm, so I have to get great. Both building, it's a great new one, so I'm like, oh wow. It's a big, yeah. No, it's short.
It's yeah, so that's, you know, so the fund is decent, it's. I don't know quite how to say this, but it wasn't very much not too long ago, and then Jim did a hell of a job and built this up tremendously. And so now we're dealing with real monies, and it's a little bit unique for the city to have the fund sitting there and for us to have a fund with some money in it. So it's kind of new territory a little bit, but in all accounts, it's gonna continue to make money. You know, we don't really have any recommendations on how to use it. We did talk about 100 grand going towards kind of a match for the Sanders grants. Other than that, we really haven't talked about anything to you know, recommend to use it on. I would like to clarify though what it is to be used on, because there's a lot of maintenance that comes up here. And we gotta figure out if it's gonna continue to be sort of a maintenance fund or what the original intent was, so if you can find.
That's a good question. So with like these payments for the People's Academy, ACE and all that, so these schools.
I think those are probably the gate ones.
Yeah.
So when they come in and we get like 25% or whatever it is. So it goes out here.
I mean, this is nice to see. I'd like to see the other end of it, like what money's going in.
Yeah.
And what the balance is currently.
Yeah. We had that, we had the fund last, I didn't bring it with me, we had the fund last month. It's a very general, you know, statement on it. And Dawn works this, she, you know, if we have more detailed questions, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have her see if she'd come up here. She's very busy.
I think the manager's not coming today, we talked about that.
No, because he's in Argentina.
Oh,
He had to go down, his grandmother wasn't doing well, so he left last Wednesday. He told us Tuesday he was leaving, he left on Wednesday. She's doing better, he should be back this weekend.
That's his point. He's okay.
So when is the last time that we've received a summary of this item?
I don't ever remember seeing this. We get, last month, we had the general summary of the citizen fund.
Mhm.
But I don't ever really remember digging deeper than that, just general statements.
I think this is a really great start. I do think it should be a comprehensive summary, at least on a quarterly basis, so that we can keep track of it. The reason we're not making recommendations on how to use the fund is because we really don't know how much money is there or what has been promised. So it would help us to know more.
I mean, last month, didn't we find out that there's like 100,000, give or take, or something left in the
I think
fund?
more than that.
What did I see?
Yeah, he was like,
It's like 130 or something, somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
On your balance from last update, 163.
Yeah,
Yes.
so.
Okay, 163 is balance after these expenses.
yes.
I think it kind of relates to it a little bit, but I've asked past, and I don't know if you can agree or not, Tom, that if you could provide us with what you were thinking of doing for your budget proposal for the city, and how many of those, any of those things in your budget proposal, I know money's tight, so maybe not, on your list that you sent out yesterday of things to do or something like that. And if any of them are thinking of coming out of this fund here.
I've only touched this fund, and all my other one choices have been
Yeah,
run out. I had.
I mean, and I understand it's, you know, you're relatively new, but in the past, I don't think we've ever had the opportunity to express our opinions, right or wrong, on what the administration, in this case you, is proposing to the city and the council, which who knows whether we're approved or rejected by them, and it's still voters. Do you think it's okay for us to look at that or not?
I mean, it's public record. It's,
Or do you see that at the next meeting or something?
That would be great.
I can tell you, we level funded everything except the BOR, which we added $8,000 to that one. Everything else is basically level funded,
How is the recreation director position looked at?
gone.
It's completely gone, not even a partial.
As far as I know. And they're,
Technically, that has nothing to do with the recreation department. I understand.
Right.
my understanding is the city's gonna lean more on the recreation committee to do some of that work.
They got new members, so which is good.
They do us members.
We will be more successful if we have even a partially funded position. I mean, this whole complex here will be just considerably more successful. If this is penny wise and pound foolish, that's what I would love to see. A portion, you know, maybe a part-time shared position with Berry Town.
Good.
Every
The
time
money,
I-
the money. Unfortunately, I had to cut 4 summer help for the cemeteries just to meet our budget.
Oh,
That's a cut what?
I had to take 4 people out of cemeteries just to cover.
What do you mean, take them out of cemetery?
I have 7 part-time summer employees at the cemeteries
Okay.
that help with the mowing, and
Yeah,
I had to get rid of 4.
give it 4.
last time they did that, there was a lot of backlash.
Yes.
Oh, I heard it last night.
Yeah.
You're really bad.
Yeah.
That's, budgets are tight. There's not a lot of money around.
To me, that's one of the kind of thing I'd be interested in hearing, what you had to do and what your requirements were to level fund your budget and how you went about it by cutting 4 people. or part-time people, cemetery people. And I was just trying to say the other side of it, we're trying to look at is that you. Sorry, this morning, but send out a list of improvements or expenses or whatever you wanna call it. For these facilities, and is there anything in your budget to accomplish any of those things that was on that list you sent out yesterday? You know,
I do appreciate that list you sent out and
yeah,
Jim's not here, but there's to Tom's report, we reviewed that list that you sent out, which is all good stuff. We got to determine what do we have money for, what can we do and what we can't get done.
well, he's determined what he can do, I assume, by what he submitted for a budget.
Yes.
And is there anything in there that we might wanna take a look at?
Yeah.
Whatever, and that type of thing, so.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to combine the two and put this stuff together and. Try to help you in any way that we can.
Right.
Because we know it's not good.
Most of my projects I have coming up are strictly maintenance, keeping things. Or upgrading what we have to.
Yeah, wow.
I'm not looking to put lipstick on the pig, I'm looking to keep the pig fat. Because if the pig's alive, then it's.
Keep the pig alive,
We can make it look good later, but if the pig's dead, doesn't matter how pretty the pig is, it's still dead.
One thing, historically, every year we review, I think I brought us up last meeting, we review the fees that people we charge. We haven't done that because once COVID came, we just retracted. But, you know, because historically, the committee would make a recommendation to the council would either agree to that fee. I mean, that's always how it's been, and I don't think we've raised the fees.
We are seriously undercharging.
Yeah.
We're charging the same amount for someone to rent the gym for a basketball game that we're charging for someone to rent the gym for $500.
Well, we've always done that because the basketball, when they serves the community, it's not fully.
Right,
it's not
what I'm
fully
saying
rental.
is we're charging the same rate, but we're putting way more work. We gotta put the carpets down, we gotta set the chairs up. The basketball game, you roll out the rack of basketballs and you walk away. I mean, it's
When we put the carpet down, I guess, what's that?
when we have other events other than basketball.
Well, those are supposed to be day rentals at like $1,200, $1,400. Basketball's supposed to be X amount of dollars an hour.
Right,
But
but you're still,
Oh, yeah, yeah, no, and we used to do, we checked, we did comparables. We can't compare ourselves to Champlain Valley, and Burlington rate is gone, but I do think we're gonna have to raise our rates. We gotta look at that. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time,
I can tell you're under what they're charging over in Norwich. Well,
We also want the others, our facilities aren't as modern as what we have to be careful, there's
I'm talking plumbing armory. They're both relatively the same, they're in the same age bracket.
Yeah.
You know, they're the same.
Same.
They once, granted, plumbing armory is bigger, but I think we have the location and.
Yeah,
I think what John is saying is that in the past, before the council set the rates or whatever, we had a chance to get information like you're just telling us right now, about the rates and the opportunity to recommend that we raise them. To reflect what you're saying is, we're seriously undercharged. I mean, I agree, it takes time to do these things. And I've always wondered what the expense was to do something, if whatever we're charging is covering the expenses of whatever we do, if it's 2 people, 10 people, it's the trash, it's whatever cleaning up after, or
I
whatever.
think that'd be a good, maybe next month we can put that on the agenda and just have a discussion on the rates.
yeah, just you provide us a rate schedule so we can just go through line by line. And because they don't, technically the fees don't affect July 1, so there's time.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And then we should probably take a look at comparable facilities around us, just to see what they're charging as well.
Last time I called, people wouldn't tell me. I just had calls.
I don't even know what, a lot of them don't go.
So now it's on the website stuff. Yeah, but Burlington, I'm very tentative.
Yeah, were you in? Yeah.
We have one more thing on this in particular, in terms of like repairs that are coming up, like the BOR will be closed in May. What account the money's gonna come from to pay for that. I mean, maybe we're.
The header repair is coming out of capital.
That's a good one.
So you said council asked us, so if somebody want to take money out of this account, they have to go to council or
Well,
they can just write a
well, I, you know, it's, that's the
$1,000 question.
yeah, it's like, it's been my memory as we get older.
Yeah, I know.
You know, it's, it was my understanding, we set this up, this was what was designated for, and we necessarily wouldn't control to an advisory committee, but we would have direction, and it was very clear this was not for stuff that should be, that was very clear.
Yeah.
We would make a strong recommendation, and then the council would basically, there's a section of the meeting where there's just a huge number of things that are ready to be approved, and would be added to that section of the meeting and rubber stamped.
The manager came to us that you had to figure out how to, this is not in our budget, this is not capital, you have to figure out how to pay for these boards, pay for Wi-Fi, do these certain things, and that's when it came up, he said, okay, we're gonna do this, it's advertisers, but we gotta be able to. Once we pay off all the stuff, then that money goes to this fund, and that was the agreement, and that's why we had the fund created. So, I'll try to figure it out.
And then it grew into a more
Yeah.
attractive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been on it longer than you guys, and I got the same recollections of what happened and how it's supposed to work out. The thing that I think is a little bit different is that Jim, people have probably done such a great job. We thought at the time we were gonna have $20,000 or $30,000, have $160,000. And I've said this in the past, if we don't spend it, somebody else is going to.
Yes.
And, you know,
Yes.
it's a lot of money. It's a lot more money. And things may have to change. We may have to use it for some things that weren't anticipated.
I think we discussed this, I think it's best to, next meeting, if you can find the origins of the fund, we can talk about that, find out what the origins was, what they were, and, have a little bit of direction. Again, we're an advisory, so we don't have any say of how to spend it. But I think that'd be a good start point. So anything else to add before we move on?
Can we go back further on these, this right here now, or is that something that could be, you know, on this fund? Because we get back to
We don't
23.
have final say, but we do have say.
We have advisory.
Yes,
Suggestion.
I just,
We can make a.
yes,
we have no authority.
okay, we have plenty of say in this, but we just don't have the final stamp of approval.
Yeah. Which is a good lead in into the next item, which is the building and facilities committee change. So I read a letter from the city last meeting. And Sue had done the thing charge, so it's good to have her here to review this. They asked us to change, I think we had in our statement that we manage the civic center fund. Review budgets and assist the financial decisions concerning the various current use of the civic center complex, continue management of the civic improvement fund. And the city has asked us to change that a little bit. Management fund would have the authority to say, what the city was saying is instead of manage, make recommendations about potential usage of the civic center improvement fund.
And we gotta wait till we.
I don't think we should, make any, however, the word management seems to be the thing that created an issue.
Yes.
And so that word could be adjusted. My concern is that I would not want to see the part of the sentence outside the typical capital budget allocation. I mean, that's really important to have in this list. And so I think we should just.
I agree, and I think it's much better with John being that is wait till we find out what it says.
Yep.
Next time, so we'll shelve that one and discuss it next meeting. Okay, that's a good one. So congressional grant status. We don't know where the money is or what money is being handed out at this point.
I haven't heard anything else on that one. We do have an architect. French Freeman is putting together a scope of work. To start.
Which is good, because as Sue's mentioned before, they were the ones who designed originally. So
They designed the building originally, but I reached out to them to, figured they had enough. These the original plan somewhere.
They do, actually, they gave those plans to Norwich University. So there's actually an electronic version available.
So you have an architect looking at it.
They're working on that one and the MERP.
Yeah.
MERP as well. MERP is, I
That's
believe,
the
sitting,
environmental review.
No, MERP is another set of,
MERP
Oh,
is,
okay.
energy efficiency.
What about
Okay,
the,
but the environmental review is what has to be done before any of this can start.
We gotta get yeah, but you need the scope of work to know what you're gonna be doing. If we don't have to do any work outside,
Okay,
it's a rubber stamp basically the rubber stamp for the environmental. If we have to do some work outside, then it takes a little bit more. So you can't get a review until you know what you're doing.
so the funds are not appropriated yet. It's-
We have for a long time, I mean, we just.
Obviously, we're all concerned about the changing in fundings and the rescinding of grants and stuff like that, and I hate for this one to slip through our fingers. What's your next step to,
I'm supposed to get the proposal today
okay,
from the architect to get a rough deal, and then we'll have to get a hold of we can take that and send that off to environmental.
So you're just, I'm sorry, they're just waiting for that so they can get approval on the money?
We need to get. The way, my understanding is, the next step is that environmental study, impact study so that they can stamp their page of the document. And
I think what he's asking is, what's gonna happen until the money arrives in Barre, Vermont?
so the money is here in Vermont.
I believe it's with USDA.
That's what, okay, that was my understanding. Okay,
I don't believe it's not in our checkbook yet.
okay,
I believe it's in USDA, and then to get it released from USDA, we need to have your money.
This is separate from the Birdie Fund, correct? This.
MERP
Okay.
MERP money, it's just 250
Okay,
for the odd and 250 for city hall.
okay,
That is sitting in the bank, ready to.
but we do have Bernie's funds supposed to be somewhere here in the States.
Bernie's money is sitting with USDA, waiting to be.
Where's USDA?
They're up, they actually have an office site. There is actually not a column, this is how the most funding, they go through USDA rural development, it's very big, it's a clearinghouse for a lot of the funding. They do have an office in Berlin, the main one's on the little site, Delta, on a couple of projects there, so this is actually kind of standard, like my wife's, that's how she got her funding through USDA rural development, so.
What he's saying, what you're saying is, it's in Vermont.
Well, I don't know where.
Well, USDA is a federal agency, so
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily mean it's in
Yeah,
Vermont.
it's
It's in the agency.
But
Right.
it works can show, contact Sanders. We got one of the staffers right here, Barry, she was on the committees here.
she lives about a block away
Yeah.
from me.
yeah, she's very local, she's actually in development of that Easter egg. And,
And I can't remember her name, but.
It just seems like it's been, God, I don't know.
Government-
10 years now.
I'm nervous.
Me too, I'm getting, like, we
We're
keep
all
saying we're
nervous.
getting it, well, it's coming, it's coming.
We might not have any manning that office pretty soon.
Yes.
I mean, seriously.
It does seem like there should be somebody in the city that's like an expert on this money and knows
Nick
everything
seemed to
about
ask
it,
the
right?
questions, but last time we were here.
Well, it sounds like you can't get the money until things happen that he's saying have to happen.
What was the instructions to the architects? Did you give them a list of
I
projects?
gave them the items we put into the grant.
Yeah.
For the application, I gave him that whole list.
Yeah.
So these are the things we need. We wanna look at.
Yeah.
We have to do. Some of each of them. Can't just. Do all of one and skip a whole section. We have to do at least some of everything we put on that list.
The issue that I see is, we talked to Andrew about this like a year ago. This is like too big of a project, there should be, I believe we gave suggestions about hiring someone like a project manager, somebody that's allowed to retire, because. This is not something that. You can just delegate to different people, this is with this amount of money, this amount of project, it should have been, we talked about. Getting a project manager, someone who could handle getting the money, drawdowns, what has to be done.
Yeah.
I understand, John, what you're saying, but when the flood happened, all that stuff.
No, but we talked, but it's just the amount of money, it's just the managers, there's
Yeah.
three other things, it's like.
The manager wasn't hiring anybody,
Right.
including
It's-
recreation
And
directors.
that may happen, given the size of the project. Um, But right now, that's probably not necessary, but once stuff starts to get rolling, then that may become a reality.
So right now we're waiting, you're hoping to get back from the architect any day now. Get those, then you go to the state for.
Then we go from there, we go to,
Hopefully get approval on that, because we're really not doing much outside. And then.
the only thing I can see outside is possibly a ramp for ADA access. Other than this one here.
Pretty, that's not a lot of dirt work, that's not a lot of work.
No, but it's,
It kicks in the environmental study.
right,
Yeah,
if you disturb anything over basically a 10 by 100 strip, 6 inches deep, it requires.
that's a round short ramp.
Pretty steep.
My son is experiencing a lot of these things as he finds out as he goes along, all of a sudden, whoops, what about this or that? Okay, I'm telling you.
Yeah. There's lots of.
Not building a building.
Lots of phase one, phase two, yeah. Okay, is there anything that we can do to help or move this along, or is it in some of the holding pattern?
I think it's, we're waiting on the people we've contracted here.
Yeah.
Set up. And they're having trouble getting in touch with some of the people they're contacting.
Yeah, sometimes things move a little slow. We just obviously, with what's going on with the budgets in the city and federally, it would be nice to get that in our hands. So, any other comments on that?
Just squeaky wheel, I'm very traditional. We've just got to stay on this stuff and get it done. I'm concerned that we will lose an opportunity.
That is disappointing.
Mhm.
Okay, moving on, I guess. You're up next, Tom, if we could kind of review the list that you had sent out.
So, like I said, we have the locker room portion of the BOR roof is scheduled. I gotta get the exact dates. All the work we did this fall doesn't get re-damaged.
And that's just over the locker room.
That's over this flat roof on this end.
Yep.
The snack bar lights, I gotta get those scheduled in. With the manifold coming up in May. Fire alarm ammonia detection, I got that. Got the pricing on the ammonia detection, we're gonna put that all together. And I'm still waiting to hear back on the condition of the fire alarm panel. That got water in it from the roof leak.
Those are not shutting obviously shutting the facility down at this point. So they're obviously not shutting the facility down at this point, but.
No, but it got water into the panel.
Yeah.
And they were gonna look at it to make sure there wasn't any, the systems are all operational.
Okay.
But, there could be some internal damage that will give us problems down the road.
That alarm also goes off. I mean, the hockey team's used to it going off all the time. We've had a couple of events where we had to evacuate.
Yeah.
And the fire department comes and looks at it and says, okay, you can go back in. Okay, so I kind of wonder what the deal is.
Which
there.
is new on that one, because I don't ever remember the alarm going off.
And
Yeah, the VOR.
we've had it go off a couple times. Because of the beam, there's some beam detectors. up in the ceiling, they'll pick up smoke or anything like that. On
Or
humid days
condensation.
or condensation, exactly. It gets foggy in there and that fog will go up, blocks the beams, it reads it as smoke, sets off the alarms. They come in, they'll, yep, it's fog, they reset the alarms and they go away. You know, we do not have a dehumidification system.
No.
Are you running the existing system that's up there?
The problem is we have days that it's the humidity that we're pulling into the building.
Okay.
Is the problem. So we can't run the exhaust fan, we have to run the exhaust fan when we're running the Zambo.
Yeah.
But we can't run it all the time because you're pulling in the humid air, which is making your fog. Um,
That's been a problem for a long time.
yeah,
So probably ever since it got closed in, before that, there was no problems.
Couple other problems, 20 below.
Yeah, yeah.
this 20 below makes some nice ice.
I know, but you try coaching kids out there at 20 below.
You know, you get a little dehydrated.
Yeah.
If you can't drink your water.
It's 20 below, it's not fun.
Well, it was fun at 6 o'clock in the morning, like, right?
Yeah.
Northbury rink,
Huh?
we have practice Northbury rink.
Yeah.
We start practice.
No humidity there, no humidity there at all.
Yeah, scrapers.
I didn't mean to get us off.
Question on the, you got ceiling painting, is that the whole ceiling that was painted?
That's just an idea. You know, you can see it's it's peeling, we have an issue.
Ah, terrible.
I was just put it on here as. That was a reminder, it's not,
8 years ago? When did that city?
Right before COVID, 2018, 2019.
So that was a disaster, you know, they painted it, they had to strip it down a little bit, repainted it.
and I think there was an old issue as well.
That's why I got painted.
Yeah.
Right. But it was not right from day one. And it's gonna be a huge issue because that paint's just gonna keep chipping off and get worse and worse and start
Mhm.
raining down on. Once it starts raining down the ice, now you got a hazard, so.
Or would you be able to take that existing painting off, or can you repair it?
No, I don't think there's any.
Talk to the painter.
I don't want to give any suggestions, gonna tell you that. I don't know.
You have to blast it out, right? Texture it up and repaint it.
Fix the roof first, because that's part of the problem.
Yeah, right.
Why painted it was.
Got the price on the roof,
500, how much?
500.
I thought it was gonna be millions.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So I could lock it in.
Yeah, yeah, for the terrorist stakeholder.
Yeah, exactly.
I believe it was.
That's pretty good,
500 for that.
Yeah, even Jeff
We
back
haven't
then.
run around $1 million for a long time, so 500 is actually, a surprise.
Where'd you get that price from?
Corral.
Correct.
That was bad.
Yeah, that's actually.
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But he's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
It's
actually good.
a pretty easy roof to do, it's just a big dome, I mean.
Just setting it up and staging of it.
Yeah. Is that, that is here, so price, look at that. Archie roof, so there's no plans on doing that roof, but it probably does have to be done at some point.
Yeah, we patched up, the visible leaks on the whole thing this fall.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't see any leaks in there this winter. We did have the condensation drips, but we gotta get that.
Yeah, but what if we get to the point, rent rate is a good issue. Paint's getting really bad, but if you go through, spend all that money to repaint, we don't fix the roof.
Right,
Roof
we
first.
gotta do the roof first. and then-
Yeah, but we might be, we're coming in a situation where it might, like you said, the paint starts raining down and stuff, there, you know, it's so.
We may have to go in and
Just scrape off the loose stuff. for now.
scrape off the loose stuff.
And you guys get a new card, right? You could use to go in there and do that. You get that lift drop, right, down the city.
How do you go in there and start scraping stuff, you know, where do you stop? You know, I have a feeling that's not gonna be that hard to take off.
Probably not.
So, But,
Is there any plan to the city to bond or anything to replace the roof? I haven't heard anything.
I don't put it out there yet.
Civic Center fund.
there's actually,
No, it's concerning, to me, just the roof, we were told a couple of years ago, like, had to be replaced. And like I said, if we just gets put off, A, the price will be, you know, this other result of damage can happen, never a real.
right, if it's sealed now though, and you got all the leaks and they're up there inspecting it, then that's a temporary fix.
But we kicked the can down the road for another year.
Right, right. And that was, I think, the problem, the last one, it wasn't fixed, there was still a leak in it, which has a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So,
So the worst one will be repaired this spring.
so, and then on the BOR, so really the only thing that's definitely moving forward, the manifold replacement schedule is gonna happen May 12th to 23rd. So, and then the odd, what do you got going on in the odd, Tom?
We've got the stair treads, we were just waiting, the back stairs, we're just waiting for warm weather to put them on. I've got I got some pricing on refinishing the gym floor.
How much was that, do you remember roughly? Very little.
It was like, it depended on the level that we wanted to go, if it's just a recoat, at about 10 to 12, I think.
Yeah.
A complete sanding and
Sand down.
repainting and take it right down to like new
Right.
was like 32.
My recollection in the past is that they were concerned about sanding the floor anymore. You're gonna get down to the nails.
Too low.
You think?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I
I
think
don't know what the answer is, I'm just saying that.
Well, I think when Bernie got it, I thought.
We thought, and I've talked with Reggie about this before, and, he says that we can sand one more time. He thinks we can sand one more time, but doesn't see the need of doing it now. That's what he said.
Yeah.
if you only got one time, make sure it's worth it.
Yeah,
And I don't think it's terrible right now, we just
the
covered
floor has been, I mean, they've done a really nice, Tom and his staff have done a really nice job preparing that floor for these basketball tournaments that have been going on there. And are on tonight, the floor looks great. I mean, I can tell just by the squeaking of the sneakers on that court that it's in good shape. There's no slipping out there and, I'm sure that at some point we need to refinish that, put another coat down and. Like, at this point right now, talking to Reg about it, I think knows what he's talking about. Sure, it could probably look a little prettier, a little bit glossier or whatever, but, the floor's in good shape.
it. Okay.
So you're talking about a screening as the $10,000 approach.
Yeah, you would have to roughen the surface up for the.
Right.
You know, you would come in and screen it, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Not touch the wood.
Not sanding, just screening.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
I would think you'd wanna save the last sanding of the wood as long as you can.
But there's no reason, so. None of us want to replace that floor.
I mean, just while we're talking about the floor, just to give, a few accolades that they deserve. We've got thousands of people in that building in the last week, and we'll have thousands more this week too, and the building looks really nice. Every night that we come in here with people, I mean, everything's taken care of, everything's clean. It's, done a really nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good, nice to hear. So, in terms of other projects for the odd, anything standing out? I don't know where the boilers. Replacement and upgrade, we made it, well, we're not all the way through, but looks like we made it through another season with one boiler.
Right, we did have to cannibalize
Right,
the other one, but you know, it was nice having parts on the shelf.
right, because it did
We,
go down.
we weren't down and the building really never even got cold.
Right. Right, but that's
But
the
we've
fear.
been waiting for probably at least a day.
Right, it went down and you guys, you know, since you have a twin over here, you took parts from that to rebuild it and get it up and running. But that's not necessarily comforting that, you know, we're at that point with one boiler.
Right.
So all these highlighted things on here are, at least on my phone, the ones that are gonna happen will be.
The yellow ones are gonna be, are in the are in the congressional grant.
Okay.
Okay,
Not
those
just
are-
the Murph area.
The green ones are in the MERP.
Oh, Greenwood's,
And
okay.
right now, what we have, Freeman Friend, Freeman is working on both of them at the time to try to
Yeah.
get them to mesh as much as we can.
Hmm.
So we're not duplicating services or missing a piece in between it.
Right, so with the mark, you're looking at obviously the kitchen and then the heat pumps. For cooling.
has arrived.
Yeah.
So the boiler, hopefully that's congressional spending, but that ball's gotta get rolling.
And the heat pumps will help with that as they'll be, they'll heat and cool. So that'll take some,
Real familiar with heat pumps, but I don't think they work necessarily great in Vermont.
I don't, my son puts them in all the time. They have some issues when you get down to 20 below.
Yeah.
But
But the heat pumps are gonna be for the whole building or just in the,
well, if we have them in the gym,
so the, what you're putting in, it's gonna cool the gym also, the main
it'll
floor?
cool the gym, which will transfer through the whole building.
So are we gonna eliminate behind the hoops and behind those, whole things?
Yeah, I would probably get rid of them.
Is that gonna go because of the heat pumps?
I don't know.
Still get the backup heat, so they're still gonna have those.
They'll probably have to have some of them at least,
I think it's
in
what-
case we get the,
You get 20
The
below
old-fashioned-
or whatever, the heat pump will not do the job.
You think they could do something to raise?
I'd love to change them to like maybe a Modine type heater, put them in the corners.
Well, it's just such a safety concern.
They're, and with my concern about it is with the mats in front of them to protect them. They're not as efficient. You're cutting down the airflow around them.
I think that's gotta be true, yeah.
And so,
It makes sense, but
You probably could put a couple more heaters up in the ceiling and call it, that would heat it up wonderfully.
right.
Modine's up in the ceiling, and they're gonna have fans to blow the heat down.
Yeah. Most of the units, I think, come with them, so.
Yeah, they're all part of the unit.
Yeah,
But the fans are nice for circulation in general, and if you're up there, you might use cool with that, so. Okay, so really, we're waiting for congressional spending before any of that moves forward. That's this year, so.
Just a quick question. A couple months ago, I think there was some discussion about returning the telecommunication towers to the top of the odd. Has there been any, I think Vernon
Yeah,
mentioned.
I went down, they haven't given me any information yet as far as what the name of the company was, but again, I've been in touch with the people down at the high rise down here, down. And they've got some significant issues down there, and I think we could, once the roof is done, once the building repairs are done, I don't think you're gonna do anything right now with it,
But we can start the conversation.
There was some, we talked about it last month, and there's some issues with it because of the space. You're using some of the rooms.
Yeah, my plan is to take that room that they had their equipment in. And use that for the heat pump equipment,
Mhm.
so we don't have to put it on the roof or have it. Outside the building, we can keep it all internal.
Sure.
Right, so it'd have to be justified. So we'd have to find space for it. And make that work.
Bernie, you say something about the roof over there before they could do anything?
No, I'm just saying, before you put stuff back up on this roof, the repairs that we're going to do to this building, I don't know if those need to get done first.
The roof over there wasn't part of any of it.
No, he's talking about the rest of the building. Get the rest of the building repairs done before you start throwing.
Oh, not the
Stuff
roof
over
itself.
Right.
I mean, why do we have to wait to get the rest of the repairs into the building to put cell towers on the roof? I guess.
Well, get their work done and then they can put their stuff around.
Anyway, then we know what room we have left.
Well, I mean,
I think we should start the conversations now.
well, I mean, that's all, I think that's where I'm headed.
Yes.
You're gonna have your architectural report that says this and that, I don't know how much detail, enough detail to say, well, you can't use this space or that space or whatever. But if we could start the conversation and they say they're willing, and then in the course of the next, whatever, few months. I mean, what that would bring in for money, it would help to, you know, their list. Even if it was half of what we used to get out of it, it's,
Art, please remind me, it seemed like it was in excess of $100,000 a
right,
year.
I don't think you're gonna get a
I
hundred.
don't think so either,
Yeah.
because there are plenty of others, but, I think that it's
That's
certainly.
50 or 25, it's better than zero.
Yeah,
You're taking that room and putting it into heat pump equipment.
Yeah.
Is there another room available that if someone offered us 25 grand, 30 grand a year, that we could find for this stuff?
Paul may not like it. There's a tournament office.
Don't put that office up there where the basketball thing is, there's one on the top floor, is there?
On this
That's what
side
you're-
here,
Yeah.
that's the tournament office.
That's, well, going along with Sue here, if Bernie, if you could say to them, hey, you know, we would like to have you here. Tell us what you can do, what you wanna do, and then coordinate Tom and whatever, and whether it's the tournament office or wherever. If we can make it work, if they're interested, we would like to know, I think, so we can try to make it work.
Not to interrupt, I'm sorry. How often does that tournament office get used? Is that at the tournament or is that before and after?
The week before the tournaments,
The one upstairs,
upstairs,
probably 2 weeks before the tournament.
yeah. So it gets used,
We could use one up this. We have no space in this building, no room for an office.
Question for Bernie. Could you live with an office up in this building or something like that?
Yeah,
we have. Yeah, we have the emergency. Secondary command center, this dispatch center that's gonna be going in. And so that's would be the ideal room. Yeah, but that's taken. The other rooms are big meeting spaces.
that room up there is basically 10 feet by 15 feet.
Up there? Yeah,
So, and I think the Frost Heaves used it as an office too, because their name's on the door.
who did?
Frost Heaves.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that would be,
There's a lot of history up there in that,
yeah,
up there. A lot
some
of-
of it you can't print, besides that.
Well, we certainly could move into a different space.
Well, yeah, so that's what I'm saying is, that- and I think like Sue says, if you're willing to continue talking to these people and say, hey, if you're interested, we wanna have you. Let's get together and see what you need, and if it affects the tournament committee, I certainly don't wanna do anything to affect the tournament committee that would, you know, put you out of business or anything like that. I mean, that's way too important for the whole facility and the area. So I mean, sounds like there's some possibilities that might be able to work out if,
There was a revenue generator.
yeah.
I may have to jump through some hoops, I would think.
Basically, you're 670 feet right about here, right where you are here right now. And you're actually getting up to somewhere around 700 feet elevation once you get on top of that roof, which is
Yeah,
about 110 feet better than the tallest building in the state of Vermont, which is that building down there outside of a church steeple. That's the tallest building in Vermont.
it seems like we could make a good argument. I think this is better for emergency management to have the towers here at the best location on the hill. We'll save lives, so I think that we'll make money too, but, I think it's a good argument.
we can make a whole list of reasons why they
Just-
should do it. I'm all for it. If you think it's worth going back to them and saying, and again, I don't know if we have the authority to go back to them and say.
We wouldn't have to be
Already
motivated
know.
to make a deal.
Yeah, I know, but if you go back and say the committee thinks this is a heck of a good idea, if you were
I would say
interested.
if Bernie talks to someone and they're interested in moving because this is a better facility and then we'd get town involved, the city, and then we'd have to see how it goes.
Yeah.
But if we could get 30 or 40 grand a year, you know, that's.
I think 80
Cash on the table. I'd take 100, but I think there goes that, they were paying for a little bit.
What you're selling,
It's
cost to go up.
Yeah, revenue is
We're saving lives.
key. And getting revenue.
I said, your personal cell cost goes up, so the city saves money, that's all on it.
Moving on, the odd sounds like there's a lot of plans, a lot of it's waiting for congressional funding. Alumni, what do you have?
Well, we got the bricks outside, so it's now squared up, so that's all safe.
Yeah.
Get that entrance open.
Yeah.
And we're working on those 2 rooms upstairs for that emergency
Yes.
command center.
That's going in, which is great.
Or actually, probably, we may even get a second room redone through that as from that money as well.
Yep.
And then it's just the same. Looking at occupancy sensors for rooms to keep the light, so if the lights get left on, they could shut off.
Yep. That's nice moving. So outside of the building, I'm not sure, it's probably in here somewhere, I haven't seen it, but the entranceway, all that paint and the panels.
That's on my list, and I didn't get it on this one, but it's,
Yeah, because we obviously waited for the winter, but that's coming on now, and that's, I know Jim's been passionate about that one, which I understand, 'cause you get to the building, it's the first thing you see, and it's, first impression is huge, and it's not really where it's gotta be right now, so.
as I said, I know Nicholas we spoke with, someone about those infill high windows on the west side.
Yep.
About putting something up there like the Odd or Barre, because you can see it coming down from the access road.
Yeah,
Doing something there to,
yeah, I haven't heard about that sounds like a nice idea. Yeah, make it stand out a little bit.
yeah.
Okay, anyone got any comments on this list or things that projects to point out? I have some just for the replacement in May, the maintenance there, I can't remember the dates that you had scheduled. Is that both? Right, yeah, May 12th to the 23rd. Right, and the turf is closed online, May 4th to June 10th. Is there any way to squeeze that closing time a little tighter, preferably earlier in the year, because a lot of the high school and the youth organizations, like, getting out at that time.
We have the highway equipment show in there
Got it.
on the 8th, that Wednesday. Before that, and so we have to pull the turf out for that because they rent that building in the Odd. And then we have the Rotary drop and swap in the BOR that Friday and Saturday. And then Monday, we started, so the schedules are pretty tight as it is. So, we're currently tearing the ice out, taking the ice out, and next week we're putting the turf in.
Next week.
So when will the turf go in?
Turf will be going in next week, it's gotta be ready for the 24th.
Right.
So the ice is coming on now?
Yeah, he took something like 40 loads of snow off it last day or two.
How long a process is the turf? Now that this is.
Putting the turf down.
Yeah.
I haven't been through it myself,
Okay.
we tore it up and picked it up in a day.
Yeah.
With about 6 people.
If you had enough people and really humped it, it could be done in a day, probably 1 or 2 days.
I'm looking at, my schedule's 3. Just to be safe.
Smart.
Because I guess the last, way I understand it, when they pulled the turf up the first time, they had a bunch of people, help from Montpelier.
Yes.
And stuff just got thrown on pallets, and then when it got put back down, they had to go recut a lot of the edges.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes help is not really help.
It also, the panels kind of go together pretty tightly.
Yeah,
If you are really on it, you can get it tight. If you kind of half-ass it and you start getting loose, by the time you get to the outside, you've grown.
right.
A couple inches. And so you gotta trim it. The hazard there is the next time you put it nice
Put it
together.
together, then you gotta
Yeah, sure.
refit the edges, yes.
So you gotta take your time to get those.
Yeah, that's why.
So are you looking for help? I mean, if you.
Actually, no, I've got I've talked to DPW and I've got two guys with their little loader coming up. Hopefully Wednesday. They'll have the ice come out and we're gonna clean. Gonna clean the floor, make sure we get all the paint off.
So none of these kids that would be on these high school teams that would be using that would help out if you had 5 or 10 of them around just to.
It's, again, you're running into the fact that you've got too many people. Sometimes help is not help.
Okay,
So again, if you're off a quarter inch, spread over 20 panels, then you've got a mess.
Do you have the installation, they gave us installation instructions. When.
The guys seem to know how, that they've done it before. I've talked to Joel. I saw it come apart.
Yeah.
It doesn't look that difficult. It's more of a, you've gotta be very particular.
100%.
And they do have, these little plastic sleeves they put over the Velcro.
Yeah.
So you can adjust it to where you want it, and then you pull the sleeve out. You're not constantly pulling that Velcro up.
Yes.
So I think we need to, it's just a time
Yeah,
consumer.
it is, and there's lines etched on the floor where to start. That's obviously the big one.
You start in center of the red line and work our way.
Yeah.
Come this way, and then you go.
Yeah, now for just for your information, I had that instruction manuals and it spelled it out, so I'll send that to you.
Okay.
Just so you have it. Okay, any questions for Tom?
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious, like, last summer, like access getting in and out of the yard for people renting it. You know, there's that lockbox and everything, and I think you've changed things quite a bit, so
Yeah.
I'm curious what you're thinking.
Or probably have someone come in to open the building.
Yeah.
Because as we know, that lockbox that key came up missing.
Yeah, that's a problem with those. So. Okay, I do have just one thing I want to talk to, and then I'd like to, there's Jim's on here for market report, but I'd like to get your guys' opinions on some of the stuff that happened recently. I was talking to a guy at Pike who, they have all day training today, up in Burlington. They always used to have it here. You know what happened on that?
There was scheduling, somehow they got scheduled for this week.
Yeah.
And the tournament. And we asked them to move their dates.
Will they come back?
I don't
I don't know, but it's a whole company-wide training.
Yeah, it was gonna be the whole odd for 3 days,
Yeah, it's a big
but
one.
with the tournament going on, cause
I'll ask, I have a good friend who's executive there, so I'll ask him.
Where is it taking place in Burlington?
I don't know, it's just the guy I was talking was complaining because we always like to have it up here.
Yeah, and it's probably more expensive.
Well, it's doing the same time as basketball tournament.
Yeah, right.
yeah, it was, we had to pick one,
Yeah. And
and it's a no-brainer.
yeah, and that's what does it.
But I'd like to change a week or whatever.
So
Yeah.
for planning purposes, maybe at our website location, we should actually say in 2026.
Well, we've already blocked off the dates.
Well, but at the website, when people are shopping around and they go to the Barre City website, maybe there should be something that actually states we have to, reserve the space for a 3-week block for wrestling, and men and women's basketball tournaments, and this is the time frame.
That is those, if you go to the site, you can look at the calendars to see what's available. Those dates are blacked out already. So
Okay,
it's like they would be booked.
Did Pike change the week of their training? Because there wasn't a conflict last couple of years.
I
Must have,
I don't know. I just,
I don't remember when they held
Because
it.
the calendar, same thing, the way the weeks fall, sometimes
Yeah,
they might have this.
yeah. Yeah. That's just a big one, it definitely changed the place for 3 days, so that's a good rental. That we lost.
we have.
So historically, there's been, last couple of years, I've been, the school vacation, there's always been at least one tournament weeks, right? Usually last week in February has been tournaments. This year, or both in March, I think that's just because of the way the calendar fell.
Maybe encourage.
Because usually I miss it once a week, so that was gone, this year that wasn't a thing.
Well, we should ask Jim to make contact with their scheduler and try to figure out something for next year. Just scheduling is hard work, and I sometimes the person involved wants to be spoon-fed or pushed in a particular direction. And I think that Jim could help by initiating this early.
You said you know someone that,
Yeah.
Jerry?
I'll be with next weekend.
Yeah, 'cause that's a nice one for us. Okay, moving on, we don't have Jim here, but I'm sure you guys have been spending some time up in the basketball and maybe the wrestling, so if you guys can speak to that a little bit. We just, how's that going, or how it?
As far as the basketball tournament's gone, I have been going in, the boys were tremendous crowds all week long. We sold out. I had put signs on the doors, that were sold out, and we shut the doors.
Yeah.
On Saturday, 2 of the 3 games, and even the 3rd game was so close to being a sellout that the crowds during the Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, was also really good crowds.
Yeah.
We started with the girls, and Monday night wasn't a tremendous crowd. It was kind of a small, but that was Division 4.
Division 4 and 3 of the 4 teams were Southern,
Yeah.
so.
But as the week goes on, and Saturday, I think we'll have some more great crowd Saturday. Did Jim tell you all about, I mean, you all know about the chairs that are coming. He told you about that. Was he able to tell you about the mats going into the auditorium?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was gonna get you up to date on that if you hadn't heard that, but we're good. Yep.
He's done a nice job. We have a whole bunch of chairs that are coming in our way. Which is really nice. They'll be fantastic. And then the wrestling, were you involved in the wrestling at all? I did not think that here. How did that
The
go?
wrestling was again, tremendous. The crowds that were here, the people that loved being at the auditorium with the space, especially the space downstairs in the concession area like that. It was, it's like a meeting place for all the kids. All their gear was stored down in the big, downstairs in that room. They were selling T-shirts and,
It looked like they had some warm-up mats down there too.
the wrestling club at Spalding High School did the concession, so I'm sure they made a really nice dollar down there doing that.
They were up here Thursday night.
Yeah.
They practiced up here on Thursday night. Yeah, it's good for those kids.
The crowds were tremendous, and the number one comment that we heard is that it was great, just like for basketball, it was in the middle of the state, and people didn't have all this traveling thing to do. It was discouraging to hear how many had to go back home because there's no place to stay around.
Yes, that's a huge.
Yeah, it was.
That's what I heard.
Yeah. But other than that, the auditorium was in great shape. It was full of people. It was something that we've never had here before, so it was.
Yeah, I think they like the space better because having it in a high school
Yeah,
setting, which they do quite often, teams are shoved in classrooms and there isn't enough room really for people to move around.
Doesn't have the feel either.
Yeah.
Coming to a facility.
But I think next year it's scheduled for CBU, right?
I think they're scheduling every 3 years. I think is what I heard.
that's what Mickey was telling me about. Yeah.
What are you saying?
The wrestling
Rotational.
they rotate locations. I don't know, if we could sell them on the centralized location. Instead of
Yeah.
one in Burlington, they probably go from corner of the state.
Well, that's a question for, we get the VPA.
Yeah, that's right.
How the VPA talked about it. I heard, I wasn't here for it, but I talked to some parents and it was just the reviews, and they said talking to people from the other schools, the reviews, was just the environment created with the stands, because like you go to even CBU, you're going to CBU gym, you're just not on top of people. It's high school gym. It's just
It's a great atmosphere.
Yeah, they said it was great, just set up for the kids, so that the other wrestlers, just how they had it set up, and just, it really was, what I was described to me was very, everybody was there, it just made for.
For the finals, they brought in this light that they brought in from the ceiling and that came down right over the top of the mat.
Right.
So the lights were turned off in the rest of the auditorium, and it was just right over the top of that. And it's
Very nice.
pretty special.
So I mean, should we have Nick back here to see what he says and somehow try to get it back here? On an annual basis?
The BPA people are sitting right back, Paul and I, we've been talking to them about it already, but there's some stuff that's already scheduled, I know that for next year, but
Yeah, I mean, it was supposed to be at CBU this year, but they were asked if they would switch, so they could have it here for this year, so I don't know where.
I think the discussion of BPA now,
Yeah, and to get it started now, so that a year from now, or next year's taken care of, the year after that, maybe.
We had a broken window, which they replaced on Monday.
broken door. Yeah, in the window in the
The
door.
window in the door.
Yeah,
And then I had heard that parking was insane.
Yeah,
I wasn't in on that Friday, I had personal obligations, but I guess the buses were everywhere and we had a
snowstorm,
snowstorm.
Friday night.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
So do we stage the buses to go down to one of the municipal lots after they drop off the students?
I
The
believe
buses
there's-
for the high school for basketball, they all know where they go. They let the kids
Yeah.
off at the back door and then they go around to the side and the buses stack up
Okay,
right there. Unfortunately,
The wrestling.
The wrestling
a lot
world
more
didn't
than
know
4
that.
buses.
There's a lot more buses. for us.
yeah,
yeah,
But I mean, to me, those are the kind of things that, well, found out, and whether it's go to a different lot or
They
whatever,
were
but,
talking, Nick was saying it goes to 20, probably.
20 schools, I think, every year.
but that, all at the same time.
so there's a municipal lot that's kind of behind my building on Summer Street that's virtually empty on the weekends. And that would be a really easy place to stage
So I mean,
buses.
there is, if we contact them, and if that was the major concern, we gotta sell this place is what we gotta do.
Right.
And that's, we'll find a place to make it work, if you're willing to say, oh, kids drop off the kids and park the buses somewhere
I'll
else.
go through it and see what the issues are and then
Yeah.
identify them, and that's an easy one to solve, or park over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
we get BPA in, we had that conversation, say, we heard, what are the issues, we'd like to have this back, so
Yeah.
you can let us know these issues, and we'll work, get a plan in
Yeah.
place to.
Yeah,
and,
who's gonna build a hotel downtown?
last Monday, I guess the parking was insane as well.
Well, that, because hockey.
We had a hockey game as well.
Yeah, but it worked itself out.
Yeah.
It didn't, you just gotta be patient. If you're gonna
There's no choice.
So the
walk out the
parking,
door, drive down the hill in 5 minutes.
you know, I guess some were parking down at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, we've seen
It's
that
like,
Over the years.
for
it's
the
really
asphalt
busy.
turns, you have to, you park down there, I mean.
Yeah.
so,
Okay. Good, anything, Jim's not here again, but any other questions or discussions on those things? Okay. So the only last thing I'd like to talk about is, we want to try to get people in here that didn't happen today. It sounds based on our discussion at the BPA, would probably be the best person to have going in next. Okay. Then we have a contact for, I can't remember her.
Lauren, her name's Lauren Thomas.
Okay. She zoomed in once before, so I'll reach out to her.
She'll probably be here tonight.
Okay. The other guy, Jay
I can't remember his name.
Nichols? Jay.
Yeah.
That sound right?
I think you're right.
Barre partnership has always been back from them, for sure. So we'll start with VPA with Lauren and see if she can come in. If not, I'll reach out to Tracy and see if she'll come in. So if those don't work out, the Parks and Rec, one of their committee members might be willing to join. I know Kat Allen, she's on the committee. And one of their new members, I guess, is pretty interested in what's going on up here recreation wise.
Okay.
So, just let me know if that works out. If not, we'll go to the next month.
Okay.
Yeah, we got a couple minutes, so I did send, we touched on it last meeting, we did kind of get, you received it, it's kind of nasty letter. In terms of the space and things like that. I think I sent that out, from, Leanna, you know, we don't really like to see that, you know, we're not gonna make everyone happy. I think we have had a little bit of hiccups with the changes of personnel and the rec department not being here and things like that.
What is the concern in the letter? I don't think.
I think it was a response, basically. You know, she just felt that she didn't get much from this, the city manager is rude and unhelpful about us voicing our concerns over lack of timely communication, gives us a snark about a 1 hour in subsidized private business when we have made it clear. She wanted to bring, she wanted a reduction in rates, basically.
Yeah, she's, you know, this is the Barre Dart Club or Barre Nerf Club, I don't know, they advertise all over the place, if you guys have seen them. You know, they're just looking to use our space, it's
Under attack is the name of their.
under, thanks, yeah, it's these Nerf, you know, it's like Nerf guns.
Yeah.
With these barriers and everything, you have games and, you know, shoot Nerf at each other.
It's kind of like paintball.
Right, thank you,
It's paintball but with Nerf guns.
right,
Huh.
yes.
So she wants a reduction in price.
She wanted to reduce rate because she isn't charging for people, or charging very little for people to come. So she wanted to reduce rate to use the space. I don't, you know, I'm not really worried about that. I think I brought it to, you know, this committee's attention just to think about, you know, how we putting our work out there, how do people know what we do? You know, I looked at like some of the advertisements on here, like Times Argus, The World, that's great. You know, I think there's a whole other world that's happening, you know, Barre Vermont resident chat, these Facebook groups. A lot of like our city and the town's public forum is on Facebook. I think it's worth exploring if we're putting anything on there. If we had advertisements for The World and the Times Argus, I think it's very well considering, you know, do we put advertisements online? And, you know, a Facebook page in general, what happens up here. I'd be happy to kind of put something together for that.
We had one, Stephanie was very, but it just never, the issue's been, we created some social media stuff a couple of years ago, but there's no one ever actually.
I've only seen stuff coming from the city directly, rather than a BOR page itself. Which if we had a, you know, Civic Center page itself, if we had our own page, you know, maybe we could be in control of it rather than waiting for the city to do something about it.
And it's a difficult discussion on this one too, because, you know, her point is, you know, nothing's happening here, it's underutilized, you know. She kind of slammed it, that's pretty good. But, okay, so, you know, you guys get a 50% reduction because space isn't being used. Well, then someone who comes in very gun shell, well, they would come here every year, you know, why should they go full price? And this other group get half off. So, you know, we kind of talked about it before in terms of keeping the rates what they are, because it, you know, it would be fair for, you know, Spalding Hockey comes in here and rents it all season long. Well, if we're your biggest renter, so we should get the 50% off. You know, it's a can of worms to do that, so we stayed away from it.
They were looking to do, they host some events and they do some fundraising for the playground. Yeah, so that's what they were kind of looking for. Yeah. If it was just a club, I would say yes, but they actually run that as a business.
And we've been down this road. That because I remember years ago, we looked at this, but like I remember it was like 99% of our renters are nonprofits, right? You look at our big shows, they're all, even for gun shows, are just nonprofit, right? And so like, and I think when I read the email, they were trying to just rent the basement. We've been down that road before. You can't rent the basement and the top floor because especially if you're doing basketball, you can't hear anything, and it was just a nightmare. But what I identified in that email too on the issues is yes, we don't have the staff we used to have here, but also the managers utilize, you know, great use of recreation, but there's a recreation committee and this committee, you know, there's a conflict there. And I think that was pretty evident, in his email.
That's
That's how I looked at it. And yeah, and there's a transition period, but, the rates, our rates are low. We talked about it, but yeah, I'm trying to think of a four other than like Pikes. Everybody else is nonprofits, even the, the trash. I mean, you start going, and, I think this is one of the things we always talked about too, the PR we talk about. Look at this winter. There's a lot of stuff going on. We're all, yes.
And yeah, I mean, I think Jim's been great at bringing the money in and getting activities here, the wrestling tournament, et cetera. His expertise isn't obviously like Facebook, so what are there resources we can dedicate there? If we have this, this fund here, it doesn't take a lot of money to get somebody like, Jim sends us these emails. Hey, this happened. It wouldn't take a lot of money to pay somebody, say, hey, put this on Facebook.
Well, we floated that idea about getting high school kids to come in and give them assistance on some of that stuff, to put it on Instagram or Facebook or whatever.
They have that work-based, whatever the program show, basically always in the place. it is.
Contact or something like that.
They just-
Yeah, advertisement's great. You have to do more of it up here, get the word out.
Front page forum and Facebook and all that stuff, yeah.
Should there be like a committee member or position that's, social media or advertisement?
I like the idea. Could we have this as a longer conversation at our next meeting?
I think it's a good idea.
I really do like this idea a lot. I want to know how it fits in with what the city is trying to do.
Right, and if they're pushing some of the recreation responsibilities onto that committee, it's like, okay, we need to work with that and figure out how.
And that's my, not to interrupt, that's my little bit of a concern, something like this comes in, that you sure everything will do. There's no record of the contact, they can contact the city directly. But someone, it's like without Jim doing the marketing, there's no marketing going on here. That's some direct department or build this place up, that's not happening.
We need a consistent voice. And a voice that the city of Barre would accept. And so I do think having a committee member dedicated for that would be really terrific. But it might boil down to some of those issues surrounding the word meeting, where we want to do something and do it well, and we might have to jump through some other hoops before we can do it ourselves.
Do we rent out the basement separately at all? And weren't we playing pickleball? Was that upstairs or downstairs?
Pickleball's upstairs.
Upstairs, okay. I mean, in the past, I've said, if somebody wants to rent out the basement at whatever price we can come up with, and it's probably gonna be less than upstairs, if they're willing to tolerate whatever's going on upstairs, if there's a basketball game or whatever, and there's a lot of noise, or you're doing maintenance, or they're fixing the floor, or whatever the heck it may be, if you wanna rent out the basement, live with the situation. We're not gonna say you get the basement, nobody gets upstairs at the same time. I don't think that's a problem, if you don't, you think you can handle it, or whatever.
I'll rent out whatever everyone wants to rent it, but
Yeah.
I have to look, I think we have a price for just a basement,
I was thinking we did it one time or
but
whatever.
I still have to look at the fee schedule.
So we've got two ideas floating right now at the same time. I love Matt's idea about moving in a direction to have a stronger digital voice. But this issue about rental, we do need to talk, I think at the next meeting, we're going to talk about rates. And I see nothing wrong with coming up with a 2-year contract where we would offer a discount to a new renter for year 1. But they would have to sign on to do full tilt for year 2. Basically, it's a way for us to engage new renters. And that a starter rate, just a small discount, might be all they need to get their marketing going.
That's a big discussion.
It's a
I can
big
see
discussion.
that working. I can also see someone trying to get something up and it doesn't happen, so.
Yeah.
They've got a 2-year contract.
What if the
Oh, I-
organization?
What do we, yeah, it costs us more to,
Yeah,
we have to live.
electing the contract is different than putting it on paper.
So kind of wrapping this up, because we're kind of out of time, I'll go to the VPA, see if you want to come join us. Next time we'll have a discussion about the rates and a digital voice. And then as always, if anyone wants to bring something up, just email me.
And I'll try to see what I can find out on the finalize, to get our ordinance, to find that ordinance, that would be a huge one.
Don't be in a hurry, you got plenty of time, so only.
Right.
2 more minutes.
Oh, that's right, the clock hasn't been reset. We need to know, what is the city doing now and who's doing it digitally? I mean, what voice do we have other than a website that's occasionally
We got some.
updated? And a sign. I feel like,
Sure,
I
it's digital.
would like to have, like, in our discussion, just a general inventory of what do we do now and who's doing it? You know, what is our dedicated,
I don't think, I'm not aware of much except for Jim's voice and word of mouth.
yeah, okay, well, it's not enough.
And, you know, emergency PSA is on Facebook,
Right.
that's all I see.
Yeah, so. Okay, anyone got anything else? All right, excellent. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you all.
Good job.
Thank you.
So you're changing the name to Smith and John?
We have to turn this on.
That's Jack and
Oh,
Oh, really?
Lots of standing. We have done, we're bringing another one already. I think, well, I think